Yeah, so I'm just gonna say it. What the heck is this? I'll take any ideas. Alien, headless kangaroo. Almost looks like it has the shape of a dog, but we can see it's just bounding on its hind legs. I'm not even kidding, I'll be blown away if someone can tell me what this is. What I do know is that I would be freaked out if I saw this on my camera. You hear that strange whistling at the beginning of the video? Let's listen again. A lot of people in the comments are saying, dude, that's just your brakes. But he's adamant. He's like, no, that was a whistling in the woods. Anyone ever heard that before? I picture some little goblin off in the woods playing a flute or something. At 3 a.m., the Cruz family is sound asleep when something disturbing happens. Their bedroom door suddenly slams shut, waking Mr. Cruz. He's able to drift back to sleep, but the next day, his paternal instinct is telling him to check the baby monitor footage. Watch carefully. First we hear loud banging, then the door slams shut. But what happens next is truly chilling. A dark, shadowy mass appears at the bottom of the baby's crib. The entity seems to be watching the sleeping child, even reaching out to move a stuffed animal before vanishing into thin air. Notice how the mass moves with purpose, as if drawn to the sleeping child. Are we watching a chance encounter with the other side? Or has something malevolent set its sight on this family? What drew this entity to the child's crib that night? And will it return? Pretty sick video here taken over Downey, California 4 days ago. And while this video is incredible, I think the comment section is more entertaining. This was featured in the Whoa Dude section, and I mean, it's just all guys. And it doesn't take more than one comment to see what we as guys just turned this into. Check this out. We're basically Neanderthals. One guy answered. One guy in the entire comment section answered the original uploader. But it's pretty funny sifting through to get it. I thought I saw an owl outside. It's not an owl. Well, whatever it is, we hear it pecking on the glass. It does look like an owl, but I have to admit that the movements don't look very natural. You know, I think the person filming would be better served at investigating those 4 sets of eyes off to the right. What are they? When Gardner, Kansas police set up wildlife cameras to track a reported mountain lion, they expected to catch glimpses of a dangerous predator. What they captured instead was something far more unusual. The townspeople, it seems, had discovered the camera's locations. What followed was a parade of the most bizarre wildlife ever documented. Local residents in an array of creative costumes putting on quite the show for law enforcement. These impromptu performers seem to be having the time of their lives. As one good-natured local put it, quote, "The mountain lion probably left because the wildlife in this place is crazy." I am a little surprised that when law enforcement announced that they were looking for a dangerous mountain lion, that a couple of neighbors got together and said, hey, let's go dress up as animals. In the exact place they spotted the mountain lion. They must be from the city. You know what? Let's not stop there. Let's ratchet up the weirdness. Check this one out. Outside of Virginia's Mountain Lake Biological Station, Professor Marcella Kelly's students set up 24 trail cams to study carnivore populations. Each station carefully positioned 2 cameras at knee height to film its surrounding area. Well, when Professor Kelly passed off the footage to her TA so she could download and record the footage, she discovered some unexpected things. As she delivers the footage back to the professor, she says, "There's some really weird ones in here. I think there's some naked people." And sure enough, a guy has found out where these cameras are located and decided to combine streaking and a bear crawl. I did blur these out, you're welcome. Everyone got a good laugh out of this, even the professor. But here's where it gets a little more interesting. When she shared these findings, other scientists came forward with similar stories. Apparently, catching humans in their most natural state is a surprisingly common occurrence in wildlife research. I'm thinking this might be a new field of study. Tracking the elusive birthday suit Bigfoot. But I'm bum. I'll see myself out. But before that, let me know if you've seen anything like this on any of your trail cameras. This next trail cam photo shows Brandon walking on the back of his property after school. It also shows that he's accompanied by a young lady. However, a few days later when his parents asked casually, "Who's this?" his blood ran cold. Brandon swore he was completely alone that day. But as we can all see, clearly visible in the frame was a young woman. A few weeks later, Brandon's dad remembered a story he had heard. In the late 1980s, a young woman went missing in this exact area. Her remains were never found, and foul play was suspected. So, could this mysterious figure in Brandon's photo be connected to this decades-old disappearance? I don't know, but this photo makes a strong argument. Shared a few days ago on TikTok, this clip stopped me in my tracks. For the life of me, I couldn't figure out what this could be. I could see that it's climbing a palm tree. The eyes definitely threw me off. The commenters have boiled it down to 3 potential creatures: a small bear, a sloth, and Spider-Man. Cast your vote down below. I'm intrigued by this next clip, even though it appears that someone took a picture of someone else's phone to capture this creature. Maybe next time they'll text the photo, since it's 2025. The owner of the picture says that this creature was captured in their backyard. You can see their house in the background, and it's pretty close to this creature. I'm definitely intrigued by this, but it's a little blurry. I need more information. Does anyone know anything about this? I tried to search online to find more info, and let me show you what I found. In what appears to be a tropical setting, a photographer captured something unusual hiding behind this tree. There, partially concealed behind a tree, we can make out a dark figure. It's a little blurry, but the way it positions itself suggests that there's some type of intelligence. Almost as if it's deliberately using the tree for cover. Experts analyzing the image can't definitively identify what we're looking at. Some suggested that this is a new species adapting to tropical environments. Drop any ideas down in the comments. A Predator combat drone, one of our military's most sophisticated surveillance platforms, is conducting a routine patrol. The skies are clear, conditions normal. Then, in a blinding burst of white light, something tears through the drone's airspace. The object's speed is extraordinary, so fast the drone's tracking system can barely even register it. It immediately turns to scan the area, but whatever this was, it's already gone. Military sources remain silent on this, which is always a red flag. Deep in the Australian wilderness, walls of flames close in from every direction. The place turns into an apocalyptic hellscape. The oxygen outside is gone, replaced by toxic smoke. These brave firefighters are staying alive on oxygen tanks alone. Watch as these massive flames engulf both sides of the road. Their only escape is literally growing narrower by the second. The commander yells to drop the curtains against the truck's exterior. They need to preserve this vehicle. It's their lifeline, their only protection against the inferno. Through smoke so thick you can barely see the truck ahead, These heroes push forward, rather calmly I might add. As they stay focused and against all odds, they eventually emerge from this hell. This footage is impressive. I mean, these guys are heroes. Ask yourself what it takes to drive into the flames while others are running away. Man.
But out of all the diseases,
A homeowner and his buddy are traveling on a trail through the property. The driver's telling a joke and the other guy's just filming the area.
the only disease where you get to drink all the time. He says, you go to a bar, you meet a girl who's got the same disease as you do. And he's got a talk show.
And many of the viewers are saying that the Bigfoot has on white sneakers. Honestly, I don't see the sneakers. I keep looking for them. I can't see them though. The way the driver's telling the joke so nonchalantly really kind of gives it credibility to me. Seems natural, but this day and age, you never know. I hope this email finds you well. I've never written into a publication or show before, but after seeing some of your recent videos on extraterrestrial encounters, I felt compelled to share my own experiences. It's a bit long-winded, and I apologize if I jump around too much, but I want to give you the whole story as I remember it. My first brush with something I couldn't explain happened back in May of 2011, right outside Flagstaff, Arizona. I had been visiting my sister who was a student at Northern Arizona University at the time. We were wrapping up dinner at this local pizza place called Alpine Pizza on North LaRose Street, then decided to take a little drive out toward the Walnut Canyon area just to wind down and talk about her upcoming finals. We ended up pulling off on a Forest Service road. I wish I could remember the exact route number, but it was definitely near Walnut Canyon Monument. Anyway, we parked and were sitting on the hood of my old Toyota Camry, just chatting about life. The night sky there is absolutely stunning, especially when you're away from the city lights. We must have sat there for at least an hour watching for shooting stars. The Perseids might have been starting. I recall they usually peak around mid-August, but it's never too early to spot a stray meteor. Out of nowhere, my sister suddenly stiffened and pointed to the southwest. I looked over and saw this bright orange-red orb slowly moving across the sky, much bigger than the typical commercial airplane lights you'd see heading in or out of Pulliam Airport. At first, we both assumed it was a helicopter or maybe a military craft, because the area sometimes sees training flights from Luke Air Force Base further south. But this orb was moving in a strange zigzag pattern. Then it stopped, like completely motionless for a few seconds before darting off at a speed that I can't even begin to guess. We both just stared at each other in silence, trying to process what we had seen. After that bizarre display, the orb shot straight up into the sky and vanished, leaving us feeling oddly nervous and excited at the same time. Now, here's the thing. My sister is pretty skeptical about anything remotely paranormal. After we got back to her dorm, she insisted it must have been some kind of drone. But in 2011, civilian drones weren't exactly common, and none of the ones I'd heard of could accelerate like that or shoot straight up without a sound. It really shook her up more than she cared to admit. We ended up staying up half the night Googling Flagstaff UFO sightings. That's when we found out about the famous 1997 Phoenix lights, and my sister brought up that maybe we'd seen something related. She even half-jokingly said, maybe they came back. Fast forward a couple of years to 2013. I was on a road trip with my buddy from college. We were heading from Los Angeles to Albuquerque along Interstate 40. We ended up stopping off in Flagstaff again, mostly for nostalgia's sake. This time we didn't have any immediate plans to stare at the sky, but you know how road trips go. We decided last minute to camp for a night in the Coconino National Forest near Mount Eldon, not too far from a vantage point that overlooks the city. That evening, while setting up camp, my friend started talking about the Roswell incident, the one from 1947 in New Mexico, and how his grandfather, who had been in the army back then, once confided to a family member that not everything was a weather balloon. I'd never heard him mention that before. He'd always been more of a we need hard proof type, so it caught me off guard. He said his grandfather insinuated that certain branches of the military were handling things that came from somewhere else, but never got specific on details, just hinted there were pieces of technology that didn't match anything we had at the time. I wasn't sure whether to laugh it off as a tall tale or take it to heart, but given what my sister and I saw in 2011, I couldn't completely disregard it. That night, we lit a small campfire and my friend's story kept replaying in my head. I gazed up at the same kind of star-filled sky I remembered from a couple of years before, half hoping to catch another glimpse of something unexplainable. And sure enough, a little past midnight, I saw a faint green glow, very faint, almost like a glow stick effect, moving slowly overhead. My friend spotted it too, and he commented that it was probably a satellite, but the pattern of movement was just too erratic to be an orbital track. It was like it would move a bit to the left, then hover, then move again. Eventually it disappeared behind the tree line. No sudden bursts of speed like before, but definitely not behaving like anything I'd normally see up there. If it was a satellite, it must have been some advanced maneuvering system I'd never heard of, because satellites don't do abrupt directional changes. My friend shrugged it off and said, "Grandpa would love this," in an almost tongue-in-cheek way. The next morning, we joked that we'd been visited by little green men, although deep down, I think both of us were pretty unsettled. We packed up and continued on our way to Albuquerque, leaving me with this second round of weirdness near Flagstaff. At that point, I couldn't ignore the area's recurring UFO sightings. I started reading up on the Hopi and Navajo legends, the stories of star people, and even the rumored sightings of tall, thin beings around the deserts of northern Arizona and New Mexico. I'd always thought of that as pure lore, but I no longer dismissed it so quickly. A couple years after that, in 2015, I ended up hearing from an old coworker who claimed he had a friend stationed at Luke Air Force Base. This friend, he said, had confided that the desert around that region is a hot spot for unidentified aerial phenomena, and that certain training flights are specifically scheduled to avoid interfering with them. My coworker wasn't known for spinning stories, so that piece of information has stayed with me. I still occasionally pass through Flagstaff and the surrounding areas, particularly when I visit Sedona, another place known for odd lights in the sky. Every time I'm there, I get that same uneasy, excited feeling. The rational part of my brain wants a conventional explanation. Advanced aircraft, drones, satellites, you name it. But the rest of me wonders if we really are dealing with something beyond our everyday reality. I've tried to keep my eyes open for local news stories or small articles about new sightings, but it's not like this stuff hits the front page of the Arizona Daily Sun. So that's my long story, Lincoln. I wanted to share it with you because I've seen you feature similar encounters on your YouTube channel. If you ever get the chance to dig deeper into the Flagstaff area, I'd love to see if there are parallels between my experiences and other reported sightings. And if you have any insights or know of any local folks who might have had run-ins around Mount Eldon or Walnut Canyon, I'd be curious to compare notes. Anyway, thanks for reading this and for giving folks like me a place to talk about these experiences without feeling completely ridiculous. I appreciate what you do. Keep it up. Best, James S., Los Angeles, California.